Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Joe, and in this video I'm just going to be talking you through a very unique asset I created sometimes last year. So basically, backstory to this was supposed to be like a collaborative project. We worked on this for a very long time, but it ended up being something that we just have to throw under the river and move on because we didn't have time to go through with it. However, I've repackaged this and made sure that I put the asset together, completed the asset creation process of that project at least, and then package it, put it out for you guys if you need something that you want for your favorite scene, stuff like that. So basically, this asset was created around a story, and this story was situated in Makoko. I don't know if you guys know Makoko in Lagos. It's basically the city on water. It holds a lot of details, a lot of stories of people every day, and this story basically was centered around a young boy, and we actually created every asset needed in the scene to make that story work. We created the building structures, we created platforms, the structures down water needed, like a stilt that goes down into the waterbed to hold the entire structure together, stuff like that. Those are like mini foundations for this city. The structure and the infrastructure in that city, Makoko city, is really, really fascinating, and I did a lot of research in this process. Came up with a lot of images that would help the creation process for these things, and I recorded the entire process. I've chopped it up into different clips. Some are sped up faster than some, and you will be able to see the entire work that went into it. We started with figuring out the work that needs to go into the project. So you would see me in the early stages arranging an Excel sheet and putting it together, task and the time needed to deliver that task. That's basically the deadline, and assigning the task to who was supposed to do what. And after that, we went on to constructing the story. The story was basically around the guy, that lost both parents, and he really needed to get out for himself. The only possession that his parents left with him was a boat, and the last words of his parents were he should make sure he gets an education. Education was very, very key to the family, and he wanted to fulfill that. So basically, with the boat possession he had from his parents, he really used that to go to school and to hustle for himself. So his boat basically was his house. It was his staging area. So we needed to create the boat to look like where the guy would sleep and pass the night. So the basic story is that this guy is coming back from school around 9-10 p.m. and he stops at the Meshai shop to get his dinner. So the backstory as to why he's coming out back around that time is the fact that right after school closes around 3 or 4 p.m., he lives there with his boats. That is the primary means of transport in Makoko, and he goes to a mechanic workshop to actually hustle and learn. So the mechanic workshop fixes boats and other maybe electrical stuff for the community. So that is where it works. So this is basically the story. I think I'm forgetting some part, but this is basically a story we had to build the entire sets around, and we got to a point. I'm sure I still need to model a little bit more, and these more are probably consumer goods. I don't think I did Milo, food items, bread, all of those stuff, but I'll round that up and add to the video at some point. At some point you also see me working on the mood board. This is just like an intro. This intro is too long. I will definitely cut this up, but definitely as the time lapse is going on, I would be talking about the video, making commentary, what I was. So you see me have a chase list of assets I wanted to model right there, and that was a really comprehensive list. As a matter of fact, it took me well over a month to model this entire list because I had to use weekends and downtimes to put together that list. And here I started gathering references for each of the pointers on that chase list. We had the roof, we had the canoes, we had miscellaneous like consumer goods, stuff like that. And what I started doing on the reference gathering was to make sure I highlighted the part that I wanted to capture in that picture. So for something like this, I would just want, okay, maybe the support beams. For maybe something else, I might just want to model the roof, things like that. So I just did that for the entire mood board. So first thing I did was to create a texture atlas, basically just a one texture material that has most of the textures I'm going to use to model the entire assets. I'm not saying all the entire textures because it might be impossible to do that. So whatever new texture I might be needing might be a combination of this and maybe some procedural textures too. So I did that and made sure I exported the diffuse, the normal map, and probably a roughness map also, because these structures are dipped into water and they would absorb moisture. So I had to make sure the roughness was accounted for. So right here, you'll notice that I'm starting to model the unit elements of things that I wanted to capture in the scene. For example, I started with just basic organic wood assets first, because I know that most of the structures were like wooden construction. So I modeled short beams, I modeled tall foundations, I modeled platforms also, and also I had my human reference there. So the human reference basically is to keep me in check and keep everything at human size. Like for this short woods, I made sure, okay, in reference to the human, it was at the point I wanted, and the tall foundation likewise. Okay, right here, I needed to capture like a bamboo texture, and it was quite. I didn't do like a comprehensive detailed one. You just see that I kind of cheated it, but it worked. It serves the purpose. So we move. So right here, you'd see that I'm beginning to create a mask using the normal of the object, and I'm trying to do that just to make the lower part of those beams look dirtier and look wetter. So I basically use that mask and they just piped in our texture to different areas, and yeah, that's how I created that. So right here you see me working on the aluminum roofing. So for the roof, you notice that I'm taking a bit longer time on it, as I wanted to, create a lot more different variations. I don't think I'm going to get an aerial shot, but I just wanted to create more variations just so in case I need an aerial shot, I can always have variety. So right here, you'll see that I'm working on the platforms. The platform that I have as a reference there was super weight, and I think I changed that to something that was more relatable so that I don't create like most low roughness textures. So right here, you see that I'm testing the assets and putting like a water texture right under there to see what it looks like. So I started working on some steps to serve as an entrance to the building, and you'll see me put up some guardrails. I don't know if it appears here, but there are some guardrails there, and that serves as supports when you're entering into the building. Okay, so this is a very exciting point for me, because at some point my textures began to look repetitive, and there was so much difference between the assets. So right one morning when I was leaving my compound, I noticed that there were some wooden structures there that I could take photographs of. So I just took photographs of a couple of stools and tables there, and I just brought it into Blender and just cropped out, captured the textures, and used that for my to produce new and exciting textures in the scene. So something else that I needed in the scene was to capture like posters, flyers, and just billboard signage basically. So I just gathered a couple of images from Google, put them together, and just did the normal Ian Hubert style of modeling in Blender to just isolate those banners and signage. So right here, I already had majority of the assets, but I wanted to test them in a real life scene. So I rendered this, I modeled this scene, put it together and rendered it. This is basically the main shot that I have in my head to create a low angle shot. And it came out well. However, there are some things that were missing, and I just took notes of them and put them together so that during my next iteration of putting together this scene, I'll be able to add all those things. And it made me kind of realize some assets that I was missing. So I actually went back to model all these things again. So right here, I am just modeling like light fixtures to just add to the scene. Just some things to just illuminate certain part of the scene and add like some brightness to some areas, and some areas won't, have light as it is sometimes in Nigeria. So right here, you see me modeling like this popular light lantern in West. It's a popular lantern in West Africa, and it's something that I use for the scene. So I was just quickly modeling through it. So right here, you see me working on the boats, and at some point I also worked on the hero assets. There's a boat that is a hero asset, and it needs to be set dressed and modeled a certain way for it to look like it's someone's home. So there needs to be hangers on it, there needs to be like a bed rest, there needs to be like a camp gas, something like that on it. And I think at some point I modeled that too. So here you'll notice that I'm modeling the hero assets and putting that together. So that's it, guys. So long. Until I see you in the next one. Peace. Got to go.